Welcome to Round Hill Radio. Through our conversations, we discover the holy and the ordinary, look for moments of grace and peace, and redefine what we're talking about when we talk about faith. Hey, Ed.
Hey, how you doing, Leslie?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Welcome back.
Welcome. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's been fun. We're having bopping back and forth between our two fearless leaders.
It's fantastic.
I like it very much.
Different voices.
I love it.
Yeah.
So today, I keep saying what week 44.
Wow. Oh my
Can you
gosh.
believe? I'm going to stop banging on the table because I realized in editing last week that I was like hitting the table a lot.
That's usually my mode of operation. So I'm glad to hear that you're
Yes, I am
doing
also
it as well.
Yeah, I'm really crushing it on that. Oh, I can move the camera case off your thing. Sorry.
It's all good. I was just straightening it out.
Good. Right angles. Right angles. Our reading today is from 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 through 19. And this is the Common English Bible version. Translation? Is that what you call it? Version or translation? Or both?
Translation.
Translations. Mm-hmm. Great. Here we go. Naaman, is that right? Mm-hmm. Great. A general for the king of Aram, was a great man and highly regarded by his master, because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. This man was a mighty warrior, but he had a skin disease. The Aramean raiding parties had gone out and captured a young girl from the land of Israel. She served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "I wish that my master could come before the prophet who lives in Samaria. He would cure him of his skin disease." So Naaman went and told his master what the young girl from the land of Israel had said. Then Aram's king said, "Go ahead, I will send a letter to Israel's king." So Naaman left. He took along 10 kickers of silver and 6,000 shekels of gold and 10 changes of clothing. He brought the letter to Israel's king. It read, "Along with this letter, I'm sending you my servant Naaman, so you can cure him of his skin disease." When the king of Israel read the letter, he ripped his clothes. He said, "What? Am I God to hand out death and life? But this king writes me asking me to cure someone of his skin disease. You must realize that he wants to start a fight with me." When Elisha, the man of God, heard that Israel's king had ripped his clothes, he sent word to the king, "Why did you rip your clothes? Let the man come to me. Then he'll know that there's a prophet in Israel." Naaman arrived with his horses and chariots. He stopped at the door of, Elisha's house. Elisha sent out a messenger who said, "Go and wash 7 times in the Jordan River. Then your skin will be restored and become clean." But Naaman went away in anger. He said, "I thought for sure he'd come out, stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, wave his hands over the bad spot, and cure the skin disease. Aren't the rivers in Damascus, the Abana, and the Pharpar better than all Israel's waters? Couldn't I wash in them and get clean?" So he turned away and proceeded to leave in anger. Naaman's servants came up to him and spoke to him. "Our father, if the prophet had told you to do something difficult, wouldn't you have done it? All he said to you was wash and become clean." So Naaman went down and bathed in the Jordan 7 times, just as the man of God had said. His skin was restored like that of a young boy, and he became clean. He returned to the man of God with all his attendants. He came and stood before Elisha, saying, "Now I know for certain that there's no God anywhere on earth except in Israel. Please accept a gift from your servant." But Elisha said, "I swear by the life of the Lord I serve that I won't accept anything." Naaman urged Elisha to accept something, but he still refused. Then Naaman said, "If not, then let me, your servant, have 2 mule loads of earth. Your servant will never again offer entirely burned offerings or sacrifices to any other god except the Lord. But may the Lord forgive your servant for this one thing. When my master comes into Rimmon's temple to bow down there and is leaning on my arm, I must also bow down in Rimmon's temple. When I bow down in Rimmon's temple, may the Lord forgive your servant for doing that." Elisha said to him, "Go in peace."
Wow. What a story.
Woof. I'm fascinated that this made the cut, I will say. I don't know that I actually have read this story before. It's not it's not a core one in my mind. So I'm fascinated by this.
Isn't it?
So what jumps out to you in this hearing of this story?
So I want to just highlight a few themes.
Do it.
Right? So without getting too far into the weeds.
That's my job.
But there you go. So there's a couple of things that stand out in this story. It's one of my favorite stories. It's probably how it made the cut.
Sure. That makes sense.
Gotta say.
That makes sense.
Right?
That's what the question was, right?
So, by the way, just the background of this story, sometimes the prophet Elisha is confused with the prophet Elijah. Elijah comes along first. And in terms of the pronunciation, I've heard Elisha, I've heard Elisha. So, I just say Elisha here because and had you do that because it helps to distinguish from Elijah, who's another.
It makes it much
completely different person.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's really fascinating to me in this story, the role of the servants. Nobody is named. These servants are unnamed. By the way, there is a book to be written here because if you were to take a look at the Bible as a whole, it would be easy to come up with a long list of people who play key roles but are never named.
Ooh.
Just the unnamed ones.
Because you need another project.
I do. So anyway, that's been drifting around my mind for a while.
I love it. A second book.
So here you've got a woman who's actually, technically you could say she's a captive. She's been kidnapped. She's an Israelite. She's been taken from her homeland all the way to the country of Aram, where she winds up as a mistress in Naaman's household. He's a powerful person. He's a general. However, he's got this skin issue, right? So this would not be necessarily uncommon, I think, during this particular time. Skin issues were also very prevalent during Jesus' time, which is also why you get a lot of healing stories around this. So this is a very important issue for this man because he's got everything going for him except that.
Yeah,
right?
And that's very uncomfortable and very distracting and pretty horrible.
Right, so he has a challenge. He has a health issue that he's got to deal with. So it is this young, well, I'm thinking she's young, it says young girl. She's the one who gets the idea about, well, you need to go and meet this prophet, this man of God. He'll be able to help you. And I think to myself, she's in an awful position.
Yeah.
She's been taken from her homeland. It's likely she's never going to return. And here she's giving him advice about how to be healed. So it's an extraordinary kind of compassion.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
The second reference to servants in the story comes a little bit towards the end when Naaman, of course, goes to the land of Israel to search out Elisha. And then he gets all huffy.
Yeah, he wants like an out spot kind of moment. He doesn't get his moment.
It's going to be a big thing.
Yeah,
right.
He wanted a little drama.
We don't need just like an ointment here. This has got to be a 3-ring circus where all sorts of cool things
Song,
happen.
dance, the whole 9 yards.
And he just doesn't get it. Why he has to go all this distance and wash in the muddy Jordan River when he could have been back in the cool rivers back in Damascus, however they looked.
Snob.
Yeah. And so anyway, so that's interesting because the servants basically have to cool him down.
Yeah.
And they have to tell him in a good way to chill out. And then they give him some logic to think about. Look, if he asks you to do something, he hadn't heard about the work smarter, not harder thing.
Yeah, he's a work harder.
And so they said, look, if he gives you something really difficult, you would have done it.
Yeah.
Because from a general's perspective, that would have made sense.
Right.
He's not asking you to do something super hard. So I'm just saying.
Harm?
If you want to deal with the skin issue, here's the way to do it. So he does.
Right.
So I think about the role of the servants. These are apparent nobodies, but they are the true somebodies. By the way, there is a little going joke about the whole fact that this book is named Kings. There's a first and second book of Kings. Kings are powerless in the second book of Kings.
Really?
It's all about the prophets and people like this unnamed young woman and these unnamed servants.
And they're the ones that make things happen.
They make things happen.
I heard you chuckle.
Yes.
When the king of Israel ripped his clothes.
Yes. So
can I just say that the powerful people in this story are a little dramatic.
They're dramatic. They're confused.
Yeah.
Right. So if theme 1 is the way that God Spirit works through people who seem to be nobodies, that's a very powerful theme. Attention should be placed on that theme. That's a very important one. The second one is that the people who are supposedly leaders, they're really confused.
Yeah.
And this is great. So first of all, the king of Aram is confused because he thinks it's the king of Israel who's going to do the healing.
Right.
So he writes this letter.
Right.
The king of Israel is completely confused. He says, I can't heal anybody. So clearly you've just come here to give me an impossible task, which I can't do, and then you're going to pick a fight with me.
Right. You're picking a fight with me.
So
Yeah.
there we go.
Oh my gosh.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
Luckily, when Elisha, the man of God, heard that Israel's king had ripped his clothes, he's like, people.
Chill. I'm right here, guys.
Everybody take why, and I love it. Why did you rip your clothes? Let the man come to me, okay?
Right.
Then he'll know that there's a prophet in Israel because apparently there's not a king who knows his right hand from his left.
Yeah.
Right. So I love that as
Poor tailors.
as the second theme, that the kings are consistently undermined in these stories. Their authority is undermined. In the end, it's the apparent nobodies who carry the drama forward.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's really important, I would say. And the third thing that I think is really interesting about this is the way that Naaman responds to Elisha at the end. He's very grateful. He's extremely grateful.
Yeah.
So now we get to see a little bit of something else about him. Up to this point, he hasn't conducted himself in the most amazing way.
No.
But then in the end, he wants to be grateful. He wants to make a pledge to the capital campaign.
Yeah.
And he said, look, Elisha, I've got to show you some way. There has to be some way that I can demonstrate how grateful I am for what you've done. And Elisha says, I swear by the life of the Lord I serve that I won't accept anything. It's not his job description. Mm-hmm. That's not how it works. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he persists, and he then asks this fascinating question. He wants to bring actually some of the land with him.
Yeah, what is that about?
Well, I think that in his view, this is about as close as he's coming to standing on holy ground. So I want to literally take, like I went to the beach in Iceland, and it was so amazing. I've just got to take one rock with me.
Yeah, or so, like a jar of sand. Okay.
So he wants to take a
It's
couple
a
of
souvenir
mule loads.
token. Okay.
Because I think he really believes that there's some connection between the holiness of Elisha and the holiness of standing on the land.
Okay.
And land is so important to Israel. Land is obviously important to other people as well. Mm-hmm. So he has this idea, which is actually, I think, it's kind of a beautiful idea in some ways. But then he's basically says to him that he's in a little bit of a tight spot.
Yeah.
Because he's not the king.
Right.
So he serves at the pleasure of the king. And the king, worships this god Rimmon. I don't know much about Rimmon, but there are other gods who are this is coming from a time when the God of Israel is not the only God. Mm-hmm. So people are worshiping many different gods, the Ashtoreth, Baal, and then Rimmon, and so on. Mm. So he basically says he's in this difficult situation where he's going to be accompanying the king of Aram to the temple. Sacrifices are going to be made. And then he says, I must also, and he has this wonderful image. My master comes into Rimmon's temple to bow down there and is leaning on my arm.
Yeah.
Is it because he's infirm? Has he got some issue? Yeah. Whatever, but they're that close, right? And I must also bow down in Rimmon's temple. Right. But the God of Israel is the one who
healed me.
So when I bow down in Rimmon's temple, may the Lord forgive your servant for doing that. And Elisha, by the way, who's a really ornery guy, really ornery.
Elisha is?
Elisha is, yeah. He is not someone who is given to, diplomacy is not his strong suit.
Okay.
He's demonstrated that in earlier stories.
Okay.
He nevertheless says, go in peace.
Okay, so this would have been out of character for what we would have expected.
Super out of character. And the thing that really it does puzzle me about this. Elijah and Elisha are both people who believe that it is essential that the people of Israel worship only one God, not Rimmon,
right.
not Baal, not all those gods.
Right.
but Adonai,
Right.
the God that sometimes translated as Yahweh.
Okay.
And that is non-negotiable.
Right.
In fact, Elijah destroyed prophets who worshipped another god.
I'm remembering this now from our Elijah series.
Massive act of violence.
Yeah.
So here we've got Elijah's disciple, Elisha, who is now saying, that's fine.
That's fine. Because he knows in his heart, he's sort of just, yeah.
So here's a man who has appreciation for the complexities of working in an administrative structure where you're compromised. And I just find it so fascinating that this is the case. And it reminds me of an essay that was written by a man we've mentioned before, Old Testament scholar Walter Brueggemann. He wrote a little essay once called Doin' Time in Persia. And this is a reference to the exiles from Israel who were sent off to live in Babylon. Years later, Babylon was overtaken by Persia. So they're still in exile, right? The descendants of those people. But in Persia, they start to kind of make this arrangement where they're doing the Persian things, but they're still the people of Israel. And amazingly enough, it was the Persians who allowed those descendants of the exiles to go back to Israel and rebuild the temple and rebuild a life there. So doing time in Persia is figuring out how to live when you're compromised.
Interesting.
And Brueggemann was saying, basically, it's the nature of Christian people in 21st century America that we're compromised. That we are also, we're wanting to be faithful, but we're also having to negotiate many social arrangements which might put that faith at risk or compromise it or make it seem like we're really not as focused on our faith as we might be. So I think this story suggests that maybe we can appreciate Naaman a little bit. We have to make our way in a world where we might from time to time be thinking about what are we setting aside here in order to negotiate this. It's always a challenge, right?
I mean, it really speaks to the way I've always viewed the words of Jesus as countercultural to American modern culture.
Yes.
Most things he teaches, like, well, that's not the norm. They hear.
Right. And so if you picture the expectations of Jesus in terms of what constitutes a faithful life, and then think about, 100% compliance with that vision over here, 0 compliance over here.
Yeah.
I think Brueggemann's point was we're somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Right? Jesus says, sell all that you have and give to the poor and come follow me.
Right.
I guess that would be 100% compliance.
Yeah.
We may be honest enough to say we're nowhere near that.
Yeah. We're not really doing the first part. That's for darn sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So where are we on the continuum? It might well be asked, how could we slowly make our way towards full compliance?
Right.
If we determine that that's what compliance means.
I mean, I think that's also, as you are appropriately wearing your Force for Good hoodie, that as much feels like our church identity, but also our church challenge to ourselves. That we are not saying we are, but we also continue to strive to be better. And we know we're not perfect, but we're trying really hard.
Yeah. And there may be times in the life of a person or a community where we come very close to full compliance because of certain circumstances. It may be a decision to stand up and stand against something that we feel is unjust. And in those moments, in a sense, we have sold everything and we've gone all in. But Brueggemann, he gave a lecture on this actually about 10 years ago at a conference in Minnesota about this living in this state of compromise. And I thought, this is the most honest and transparent lecture I'd ever been at, because it was the first time someone was honest enough to say, folks, we're compromised.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about it.
It's so powerful to name the thing.
And given the fact that we are, then let's think about how we can be as we're actually slowly subverting our own lives, right? What by living in a culture where we may not be, let's say, in full compliance with all of the gospel values.
Yeah.
What we are doing, though, is we're hoping bit by bit to get closer to that vision, which means that's where the kind of subversion of our own lives. You had used the word countercultural. And I think the countercultural thing for Naaman to have done would have been fully counterculture if he'd gone back and say, I don't believe in women anymore.
Right.
And I'm not going with you to the temple.
Right.
That would have been full compliance, faithfulness to the God of Israel.
Right.
But he didn't do that.
And maybe Elisha in past interactions would have been like, well, then tough cookies.
Exactly. But in this situation, he says, go in peace.
Yeah.
It's not even that he says, okay.
Well.
There's a kind of a blessing here. And I think in a way, what he's saying is, I trust you to figure it out. And understanding that there might have come a time in Naaman's life where he would say to the king of Aram, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
And I think we've talked in the past about it's a movie starring Jack Lemmon, where he's a priest and he finds that he has been doing certain things to really kind of protect himself and sort of feather his own nest.
Yeah.
And finally, at one point, he comes before his congregation because of a series of things that have happened to him in his life. And he says, I can't do this anymore. And that's the point where maybe Naaman would have come to that point at one time.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is what I find fascinating about this story. You've got all these big themes, the roles of the apparently powerless who turn out to be quite powerful, the confusion that goes on that has to be straightened out, and then you've got this interesting character, Naaman.
Yeah.
And what?
I mean, I think Elisha's comment at the end is such a powerful example of sort of like a little bit of forgiveness and sort of mercy and grace, and that idea that like this maybe Elisha is showing Naaman that like that the God of Israel, that this God is a more compassionate, maybe more inclusive God than Rimmon, and that God and the God of Israel in this case can withstand even that, and like that, which also makes me feel like Naaman might have then felt. I'm just extrapolating now.
Yeah,
might have then felt maybe more inspired to then go and share with others the experience he had. He didn't have to hold it close because he didn't feel like he had to pretend that he could still go serve his king, but also share with his community what he experienced in his interaction with this God.
Mm-hmm. I think what these stories are often doing is they're also kind of subverting themselves, because there are other passages that can be found where boundaries are to be kept at all costs.
Interesting.
So why is it that in a story that starts off with, we're going to keep the boundaries at all costs, suddenly we get this?
Yeah.
And to me, that's what makes the Bible as a book so fascinating in the way that it will some people could say it's a contradiction, but I think what it's really doing is, again, it's subverting itself to show that there is more movement here than initially was thought to be possible.
Interesting.
That's what I think was really interesting.
That is really interesting. Very cool. Do you have that was a pretty darn good closing thought. Do you have another closing thought for us? You can say no.
Well, I think the closing thought is be open to be surprised by the stories. Good surprises.
Good surprises.
And there's a good surprise in this one at the end. So I think be open to the good surprises.
Well, thank you for that. I really enjoyed my first interaction with these.
It's great questions, great comments that you offered. And I think it's a wonderful, wonderful story.
I can see why it's one of your favorites.
Here it is.
There's a lot in there. Thanks, Ed. And thank you all so much for watching and listening. Round Hill Radio is brought to you by the friends and members of Round Hill Community Church. For more information, please visit roundhillradio.org.
If you enjoyed this podcast, there are a few things that you can do that would make a big difference to us. like the video, subscribe if you aren't, and click the notification bell and select all. Thank you.